Most of us were taught, either explicitly or implicitly, that salvation starts at the cross, that God only steps in once things go wrong, that Jesus shows up mainly to deal with sin, guilt, or hell. The story of salvation is mostly about what happens at the end. But what if salvation started earlier than that? What if the most radical moment in the Christian story was not when Jesus died and rose again, but when God became a human, something we call the Incarnation? Christianity makes a claim that is easy to say and almost impossible to sit with, that God took on our flesh, not just as a dress up, not as a costume, not as a temporary disguise or a divine experiment. God joined himself to humanity, fully God, fully human, which means that salvation doesn't begin with an escape. It begins with union. So before the cross, before the resurrection, before sin is ever dealt with, God says yes to humanity, yes to you. The incarnation is God saying, I'm not saving you from a distance. I'm not fixing you from the outside. I'm entering in to your humanity to heal it from the inside. And that changes everything. Because if God has taken on our flesh, then our humanity is not the problem. If God has entered our condition, then our lives are not abandoned. If God has joined himself to us, then salvation isn't primarily about avoiding punishment in the end. It is about restoration in the here and now. It's about healing. It's about wholeness, new life. Now, this month, the month of January, we're slowing down to ask better questions about God and the incarnation. What if salvation isn't something that happens to us later, but something that begins with us the moment that God becomes human? What if the good news isn't that God tolerates us until we die, but that God has already bound himself to our humanity in Jesus Christ? What does it mean to live when belonging comes before believing? What if the cross isn't God changing his mind about us, but God removing sin and death from within our humanity so that resurrection becomes the beginning of a new way to live? And what if faith isn't about earning God's nearness or trying to draw him close, but learning how to live from the nearness that already exists? That's what January is about. We're beginning the year not with fear, not with threats, not with distance. We're beginning with a confession. God is here, not watching from afar, not waiting for improvement, not standing over us, but he is here in Jesus, in our flesh, in our story. And if God is here, then maybe we're more included than we ever thought, more loved than we ever believed, and more capable of change than we ever imagined.